Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Michael Hall and Michael Reed. The Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com. We are now joined by one of our first guests that we ever had on this show, Mr. Zach Selby. How are you doing on this very chilly Monday evening, sir?
I'm getting the standing ovation. I like that. It's pretty good, actually. You mentioned the cold, and I've lived here since 2017, and I used to think that I really enjoyed the cold, but when I came up here, I was like, no, I don't really enjoy the cold. It's not for me. The Tennessee weather is a lot more welcoming.
I can imagine that to be the case. But that being said, it's going to be most likely chilly this Sunday when Washington on Sunday Night Football faces off against the New York Giants, with both teams sitting at 7-5-1, but Washington having the over on them in the wild card rankings, sitting at number 2 in the wild card. They are in a playoff spot, and they have a position to go to 8-5-1. And we were just talking before we were recording. That is so awesome just to think about, Selby. So heading into this next matchup, first question I have for you: this offensive line. Tyler Larson obviously got surgery. He's out for the formidable time for future. So how do you see that offensive line shaking out? Is Sam Cosmi going to be available?
Well, I mean, first of all, I'll say this is my fourth season. I've never covered a team that's had more than 7 wins. So we're in unprecedented territory here. And it's kind of crazy to think about. And I've seen a lot of crazy games in the four seasons that I've been here. I've never been more excited about a game than this one. This one is it's got all the ingredients for a great epic showdown, prime time, both teams in the same record, best division in football. I mean, you can't ask for much more than that. But to your question about offensive line, yeah, Tyler Larson, that's a pretty significant blow, especially this late in the season, because, I know some people say he probably wasn't maybe the best center, but he did add a lot of stability to that offensive line where they didn't really necessarily have it for a large portion of the season. You lose Chase Roullier from the start. You bring Nick Martin in, doesn't exactly have the start that he would want. And there's been a bunch of other shakeups as well. In terms of starting center, I think it's one of two options. Either I think one, you go with Nick Martin, or you go with Wes Schweitzer. And I think they present both some positivities. I think Nick Martin, obviously, he's been a center for his entire NFL career. He knows what he's doing in that position. It's very clear that he's comfortable at the role, at least. And Schweitzer, on the other hand, he is a better run blocker, in my opinion, even though he doesn't have as many starts at center. And I think that's going to be pretty key, because if you look at it, this Giants defensive line is still really good, especially on the interior. So my opinion is that maybe you'd want to have your best run blocker out there to kind of stop up Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams. But it's going to be interesting to see where they go with it. In terms of Sam Cosmi development, it seems like he's going to be fine. And I think, if he is fine, that kind of brings me into the question of where does he play? And I think they're assuming Trey Turner is unavailable, which we don't really know what his status is. You would think that you would stick Cosmi at right guard again, because in my opinion, he played pretty well up until he got hurt. And, Logan and I were talking about this today, about how difficult it is as a guard to reach block a nose or a shade, or, someone like that on these outside zone plays. He did that pretty well against Dexter Lawrence, which, as we know, Dexter Lawrence is on a really terrific season right now, probably one of the better seasons of his career. So it will be interesting to see. I think he's going to be okay. And if so, I feel pretty comfortable about him playing right guard, even though it'll be only the second time in his professional career that he's done so.
You talked to Logan?
Oh yeah.
Why hasn't he returned my calls for the last 2 months?
He mentioned that to me, and he was like, "Yeah, tell that guy I want nothing to do with him."
He wrote me some restraining order.
He listened to the show and he heard you badmouthing his run in the 2012 playoffs. All right.
Yeah,
up tight end.
That's what it was. Yeah, disrespectful. Come on, man's Washington legend.
I know. Yeah, no, a Washington bench legend. I heard though. No, I did
Whoa,
hear.
This is the joke, Selby. This is what Reed does. He says that they're best friends, so he can say this.
He's my best friend. I can say that. Yeah, no, he's my best friend.
You can't take shots at the Washington legend. But sticking with the injury theme, flipping to the other side of the ball, Benjamin St-Juste is a guy that's been out for the last couple of weeks. You see they give up a couple big plays to the Giants in the previous matchup. Do you think he's going to be back for this game? And if he is, do you think he'll be impactful enough that it'll show on defense?
Well, I certainly hope so because, and I say I hope so because you really don't know. Washington normally plays their injuries pretty close to the chest in a lot of ways because, I mean, take Cole Holcomb for example. I mean, we kept hearing that the foot is okay, he's making progress, he's doing everything he needs to do, and all of a sudden he's on IR and might not be back for the rest of the season. So we don't know. So I mean, in the same sort of situation here. I mean, St-Juste, we've been hearing that it's okay. And maybe it is because I think if you really looked at it after the Texans game, you really would if there were two games for him to miss, it would be the Falcons and the first matchup against the Giants because the Falcons, Mariota could not throw the ball very well, and they didn't really have any serious weapons outside to beat you, especially outside the numbers. And then look at the Giants, and they've got Darius Slayton, but they've had some offensive
Isaiah
injuries,
Hodges as well?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, he's done pretty good, in his role. But I think we all kind of know that he wouldn't be on a roster if it wasn't for the fact that they've had injuries to Sterling Shepard and a bunch of other their top playmakers. So that's tough. But with that being said, I think if he's available, I think it's a huge bonus for Washington because I know you say a couple big plays, but really the 55-yarder is really the only one that I can think of, the Darius Slayton. But at the same time, you think about that, and that one play changed the game in many ways because you can kind of point to that play as when Washington was up 10-0, and Daniel Jones just goes up for a prayer for Darius Slayton, and he comes down with all of a sudden they're rolling, and you're in a fight, and against division teams. Especially teams like the Giants who, I know they've had some issues keeping guys on the field and, maybe their talent isn't always as good as you need them to be, but they do fight to the very end, no matter what. So I think Washington learned that with a pretty good firsthand account. Like they're never going to give up on a game no matter what. So I think, you look at Benjamin St-Juste and he has a rare blend of skills where he's athletic enough to keep up with these quicker wide receivers, but he's also physical enough to almost eliminate these bigger targets. He held his own against Justin Jefferson. He did a good job against AJ Brown, but AJ Brown was a little bit banged up, in that second matchup. But at the end of the day, he's been playing very well. So I think at this point in the season, you need as many benefits as you can get, especially with 4 games left in a playoff push, and I think they have like a 73% chance of getting in the playoffs right now. But even then, I mean, like last year, the season imploded in a lot of ways. Not necessarily a fault of their own because of the COVID outbreak and a bunch of other things, but you never know what's going to happen. So if you can find a guy like Benjamin St-Juste available on your roster and he's healthy and being able to eliminate any option for Daniel Jones, who, my goodness, he had one of the best days of his career. Honestly, seriously. In that game. Yeah. I think that's you want him, even if he's maybe not 100%. You want him out there,
right? Keeping it on the defensive side of the ball, guys returning from injuries. Of course, Chase Young, everybody's waiting to see him. There's a good chance that he's coming back. Montez Sweat has been banged up. And what is Washington going to do? Are they going to have these guys on snap counts? And how big of a role is this rotation going to play trying to control Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley?
Well, I think, you look at Montez Sweat. I think, he was evaluated for concussion. He's had a couple weeks to recover from that, even if he wasn't the
perfect time to get a concussion.
Yeah. I don't think he was officially in the protocol. But either way, I mean, he's had time to recover from that. I don't think he's going to be necessarily on a pitch count. Like Chase Young, if he plays, will absolutely be on a pitch count. Because you want him to get confidence back out there. I mean, and plus, Rivera brought this up, made a good point the other week, is that at this point in the season, it's hard to mimic what you're going to be able to see out there in a game. It's hard if you just jump back in, week 15 and expect to play, 70 snaps. I would say, I think Rivera pointed like 10 to 12 or 12 to 15. Yeah. I think that's exactly what you want for Chase Young. I mean, and honestly, if he can give it the same amount of, at least a smidgen of the athleticism that he's capable of, that's more than what they have, and they already have a lot. In terms of containing Daniel Jones, I think it was so frustrating in that game.
Always is against him.
Yeah, and what frustrated me the most in the press box is that they were in position in a lot of these moments, but the over pursuit just killed them so bad. I mean, the one play that I keep mentioning is after that fumble. They had Daniel Jones like almost bottled up in the backfield, and he just slips through them and just gets the first down, and they go on and score a couple of plays later. That blew my mind about how they were in just such good position. They just over pursued it, and that was something that Daniel Jones exploited a lot. I don't know why he does this for every time he plays us. It seems like it's just one of those crazy coincidences, but you always have to be on your toes when you're watching playing Daniel Jones.
I think he's Ron Rivera's Make-A-Wish Foundation person, because Daniel Jones just looks stupid.
He looks like Carson Wentz back when we used to play, when Carson Wentz is obviously back in his normal form.
Oh, yeah. He just tears us up all the time.
Where you just can't get him down for some reason, even when you're in great position.
He had 95 yards Thursday Night Football last year. He had 74 yards the year before that. He had 71 2 weeks ago. So for whatever it is, he just knows. He just has his best games against Washington. For whatever
and he has that stupid Manning face, and I hate it.
Now, Selby, to wrap this up, only a couple more questions for you. But offensively, the Commanders had a big issue with containing Azeez Ojulari and being able to Kayvon Thibodeau limit the pass rush of the Giants' defensive line. So this time around, do you expect a different sort of circumstances? Do you expect this coaching staff to make the proper adjustments in order to keep Taylor safe?
Well, it's interesting because, obviously the Giants bring a ton of pressure, and, but Logan and I brought this up, in our three keys the first time that they played the Giants, was that, there's two schools of thought in how to do this. It's to max protect to get the ball out quick. Against the Lions, they chose to max protect, and that didn't really work out for them. Against the Giants, they chose to max protect, and it didn't necessarily work out the way that it should.
Right.
I think it's, if it were me, I would say they probably would want to try to get the ball out a little bit quicker. And if you look at, there are some moments where like you just, I don't know if Taylor couldn't see it or whatever, but like there were some plays to be had where like if he just got the ball out a little bit quicker, he could have avoided the rush a little bit more. But I mean, I think the Giants bring the pressure that they do. It speeds up your decision making already. So I think Taylor doesn't, he obviously doesn't want to make a mistake. He wants to protect the football. But I think getting the ball out quicker. I think they're going to max protect some. I think that's good. They're going to do a little bit of that. But I think they're going to try to avoid things like matching up John Bates against Thibodeau. That was something that they did. And I like John Bates as a blocker a lot. But I think, having like a tackle on, maybe like causing plays tackle or something, if they did that rotation, causing plays better against athletic defensive ends, maybe they'll do that. But it's gonna be interesting. I think it's gonna be a blend. The other thing is like I think they've had 2 weeks to prepare for this. Yeah. While the Giants have had to prepare for the Eagles, I think.
Did they prepare?
Logan and I were also talking about this today too. Is I think, Scott has some plays where he has some very well designed plays. So if they can just give Taylor some time, I think he can execute them a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. And then some of my last questions for you. Obviously, we kind of talked about it, but is this the biggest game for Washington dating back to possibly 2012 and those type of games? They're 7-5-1. This is uncharted territory for this team. Obviously, this being Rivera's third year. How big of a game is this for the fan base to show up and also for the team?
Well, first of all, it's massive for the fan base to show up. Jonathan Allen got to that business pretty quick right after the game was over. It was like, look, they need to show up. They need to rock the stadium. I absolutely agree. And it's like I was saying at the beginning of the pod, like what other factors do you need to come out to this game?
Yeah.
You've got Heineke playing in prime time. You got playoffs on the line. It's going to be a Sunday night game. Like everything that you would need, and the fact that these two teams tied 2 weeks ago.
Right.
They're about as evenly matched as you can be right now. And there was a crazy amount of plays, like the Jahan Dotson play. That was just one of the sickest plays I've ever seen live. But in terms of biggest games since 2012, I mean, I will say for my part, it's the biggest game that I've been a part of for the last 4 seasons for sure. Not knowing doing too big into too much into like the previous years before 2019. I mean, I would say that it's up there. Has to be at least top 5. Has to be. Maybe even top 3 because man, like I said, all these factors just point to it being one of the biggest like games of the year, or if not the biggest. Because if you look at the playoff chances, the win puts them at like over 90%. A loss takes them down to 40%. Yeah. That's all you really need to understand like how big this game is.
And I heard some stat, I think, from Arch Deluxe on Twitter. It said, I think Daniel Jones is 0 for 9 in primetime games. So we're kind of glad this got flexed to Sunday Night Football. But last question I have for you, Selby. What are your keys to this game, offensively, defensively? What are you looking at for order for Washington to get the victory?
I was actually thinking about that today. And I think get the ball out quicker is definitely one of them, because I think if you look at it, with the way that the Giants bring pressure, there's going to be a lot of one-on-one man situations, and you saw the Commanders take advantage of that in certain moments, like the Jahan Dotson play, relying on Dotson's just crazy route running ability and ability to create separation, and just have these DBs just on their heels. I think that's a big one. I think number 2 is you got to find a way to contain Daniel Jones. Somehow, some way, don't over pursue on him. Keep him in the pocket if you have to. Don't go too crazy with these rushes if you need, because they're already athletic enough. I think they're definitely. I think this front is obviously better talent wise than the Giants' offensive line. Except for a couple of positions here and there. So I think if you just let those guys run, but also kind of keep to their pass rush line, because they've done a good job of that. Since Scanina took over as the defensive line coach, but it seems like they kind of reverted back to some of their old habits a little bit. And I think if they can remind themselves that, hey, if we just play our game, there's no way that Daniel Jones is athletic enough to just go for 71 yards on us again.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, no, and I think 3, you got to take advantage of your easy layup wins. Like I know like the Logan
Something
Thomas.
Hall's been saying forever.
Yeah, I mean, Logan Thomas had, it was just, it would have been a touchdown if Heineke had been able to connect, and that's obviously one that Heineke would want back. But yeah, that's one that you look at it and say, well, if they score there, they go up 14, they go, that's 7-0, but they go up 14-0 if you include that other touchdown, and all of a sudden you're not playing for a tie, you're playing to keep a win alive in that situation. And then you also look at, there was another play by Brian Robinson that, he just kind of momentum just took him out of bounds a little bit. That probably.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
That was so weird.
Scored there.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, and I think a lot of that comes down to like maybe he's, it's just rookie inexperience. Maybe that's something along the lines of it. But it's also, if you're getting pushed and you're going out, like, it's kind of hard to stop at that point.
Especially
so
that size.
Something there. But even then, I mean, you got to take advantage of those opportunities. But yeah, I think if they can do that, I think I thought they had a good shot to win 2 weeks ago. They've got a really good shot. They can just get out of their own way in so many instances. Like I think pound for pound, they're a better team than New York for sure. But it all comes down to, can you execute and can you take advantage of your opportunities?
Right. Absolutely. Do you remember when Tom Hanks played Daniel Jones in that movie? What was that movie? Forrest Gump. Do you remember that movie that's about Daniel Jones's life?
That's rude.
And you're
he just keeps running.
You're absolutely right, Selby. I kind of talked about it last podcast, where the Giants dang near played flawless football. You could say to an extent, obviously, besides that one fumble by Daniel Jones, but Washington kind of fumbled that. And can can the Giants replicate that twice in a row? And what's the likelihood that Washington can get better from their performance? And I think Washington can get better, and that's my big point here. Selby, I can't thank you enough for taking some time out on this Monday evening for us. Go back to cooking that red velvet cake. Make sure you guys go check out Snacking with Selby, the Washington Commanders YouTube channel, a show that's on there, starring some of the best players on the team and really good conversations. Always appreciate your time, Selby.
I always appreciate coming on to the pod. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. And hopefully next time I'm on here, we'll be talking about a playoff situation.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
We got to speak that into existence, Mr. Selby. Have a good evening, sir. Appreciate you. Have fun at the game this weekend.
See y'all.
Bye, Selby.
All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man, Mr. Selby, because Reed just wants to make everything uncomfortable as possible.
That's what I do, man. If you're not uncomfortable, you don't grow. I think I've heard that's a thing. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Heard that somewhere.
Before we get into our fan questions and kind of breaking down this game and everything like that, I kind of want to talk to you guys about the offensive line in particular, and kind of what do you guys think is going to what's going to happen there, and what you would do in this scenario. Because this is a pretty big game. I think the Giants were very effective in getting after Taylor Heineke. Obviously, the fumble was crucial early in that third quarter, kind of halted all the momentum, went back to the Giants. So I feel like the emphasis on the offensive line is going to be heavy, but it's at a bad time with injuries to Larson. Obviously, Selby thinks Cosby's going to come back. So, Hall, what are your feelings with the offensive line at the moment?
Yeah, especially coming off of the performance they had the previous week against this defensive line. I'm a little bit iffy on especially the interior, the outsides, the edges, not so much. But the interior, I'm definitely kind of iffy on it. Obviously, well, I don't know. Obviously, if not other people know this or not, but Chase Roulier and even Tyler Larson, when they're in there, they're calling a lot of the protection stuff. They're calling a lot of the pre-snap stuff in the as opposed to Taylor Heineke or Carson Wentz, whoever's at the quarterback position. So losing both those guys is definitely crucial. Obviously, you saw the one or two missed protections on Kayvon Thibodeau the past game, and I feel like that was due to lack of experience, lack of protection calls, lack of like I said, lack of reps with the guys out there due to a new center being in the game whenever Tyler Larson went down. So I think that if they can just get the interior fixed and hopefully cleaned up a little bit, then I think they'll do okay. But it's gonna be a tough challenge.
Yeah, and that being said, the game just started between the Patriots and Cardinals, and Kyler Murray just got carted off the field, which is terrible. So prayers up for Kyler Murray. Yeah, the game just started, dude. That's absolutely terrible. But yeah, that's my biggest concern with this offensive line because they've been banged up all year. As much as everyone wants to crap on Norwell, obviously he can play better, but I felt like he was injured through training camp, and he was going to play injured throughout the season. And you didn't really have anybody to replace him with. And so, like, bad-mouthing the guy, I can understand why he wasn't playing to his best of his ability. But the injury comes at a bad time. And I do agree with Selby in the extent that Wes Schweitzer coming in, he knows the calls. He's been with this offensive line for 2 seasons. He knows Matsko. He knows what this offense wants to do. He can get guys checked, like Hall said, get in position in those pre-snaps because I felt like that was missing at points, especially last week against the Giants. There's that one protection where Charles Leno has to push the inside rusher, then get to the outside rusher, and it gives up a huge hit on Taylor Heineke close to our goal line. That's the kind of thing you want to avoid. That's where those checks come in. And so somebody like Schweitzer, I think, could plug in right there. And then I have all the faith in the world in Sadiq Charles. I've been kind of questioning where he is at the moment because this would be the perfect spotlight for him to step in and help this football team. That being said, if Cosme's available and Lucas is healthy, that's how you start. I know Lucas has gotten beaten in pass protection a little bit, but that interior I would love. I would feel better about this matchup knowing that Cosme's on the inside going against those two monsters and Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams. I would feel much better about that. Much more weight down there having the mountain.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And plus, he's so athletic and strong that Lake Lewis talked about it before the season. He almost projects better inside as a guard anyway. Yeah. So if you can have that, and then Cornelius Lucas, who's just a natural right tackle, big stalwart, nice run blocker, you got to feel good about that. And you want your big boys out there. You want your alpha dogs. So I completely agree with that.
Now let's go to our fan questions and preview this game. But first, this is from the Colonel. Reed. Is there still a possibility that Jahan Dotson or Brian Robinson could still be considered Offensive Rookie of the Year? I want to say these stats. Brian Robinson in 9 games played, 147 carries, 563 yards, 2 touchdowns, averages 3.8 on the ground, 8 receptions, 42 yards, and a touchdown. Jahan Dotson, 19 receptions, 233 yards receiving, and 5 touchdowns receiving. What do you think, Reed?
I think the Brian Robinson one is more likely, just because, I mean, Jahan missed so much time. But I mean, I think it was Ryan Clark brought up Brian Robinson possibly being the Rookie of the Year, which Offensive Rookie of the Year, which is surprising. I mean, you look at these good rookie running backs.
Right. Chris Olave's having a good year.
Chris
Walker,
Olave, yeah, Kenneth Walker, Damian Pierce. Like, there's so many guys out there that are playing well. But hey, man, anything's possible, especially towards the end of the season. If Brian Robinson puts his team on his back and starts just going off, I could 100% see that. But that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot to ask any running back in the NFL, let alone a rookie. But hey, he's talented enough. So outside shot, but it's possible.
Yeah, it definitely is possible. I think Jahan Dotson probably has the best ability to do so because I think the stats is lining up. A lot of the times, these decision makers, that's what they rely on. And Brian Robinson, I think, is going to fall short of the other guys. Obviously, he's selling short of the story you can write with it. But Jahan Dotson, the 5 touchdowns, like if he could get to like 8 touchdowns by the end of the season, I know that's a lot to say, but that's a staggering stat for a rookie wide receiver. And there's a chance that better chance that he could win it more than anybody.
And then he'd have barely over 300 yards.
Right. So. But still, with 8 touchdowns, it's still sick, though. And nobody else would have that. But that's something that you can hang your hat on because nobody's really pulled away within the wide receiver aspect.
Olave and Garrett Wilson are both dominating.
Absolutely. But,
well right
I think I'm not sure about their touchdowns, though.
Yeah, no, for sure. Right. But Christian Watson, he's been going off with touchdowns lately. Remember? Because,
hey, but they're not a playoff team. And we've always been told with Terry McLaurin is you cannot get the accolades unless you're a winning football team. That's all I heard for 3 years.
Valid point. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Now, it's crazy because you think about Jahan Dotson and you're just like, oh, he has 19 receptions for 200-something yards. It's like you got to literally triple take that to be like, really? Because it seems like he's had a lot more catches, a lot more yards, but it's just he makes those big plays, those splash plays, and makes you be like, and this just makes it seem like he's had such a bigger season that he's actually has.
Like whenever he touches the ball, crazy things, just good things happen.
Exactly. But I don't think. I mean, unless Brian Robinson put on a Derrick Henry type performance down the stretch,
that's possible as well.
Was going for 150 yards plus, a couple touchdowns a game. I think he could definitely get himself into the mix. But yeah, I mean, guys like Damian Pierce have been doing it consistently all throughout the season. Chris Olave started off slow but came onto the scene. Garrett Wilson wasn't really getting talked about a lot because, I mean, he was up in New York, but all of a sudden they start winning games. He has a breakout game against the Buffalo Bills. All of a sudden he's on the scene now. So, there's definitely some guys up there. I feel like if Jahan Dotson would have never got injured, he definitely would probably be in the mix as well. Just because,
he was leading it, wasn't he?
That's what I'm saying. The touchdowns, he was leading the league in touchdowns at one point. I mean, he's still up there in touchdowns reception as it is. I think he has 5 or something like that.
Yeah, he has 5.
Yeah. So, It's gonna be really, really probably hard for either of them to get into the mix. But again, if anyone could do it, it'd be Brian Robinson with a Derrick Henry performance down the stretch.
Yeah, and with 9 games left, obviously, with 9 games played, Brian Robinson has 563 yards. Now I know this would be crazy, but that being said, it's not insane to think in 4 games if he did have over 100 rushing yards, that he'd be close to 1,000 yards. And if in 13 games, if he ran for 1,000 yards, I think that he would win that. And obviously, there's other rookie running backs doing well, but that's always a possible, right? And that's all I'm trying to say here. I'm not saying
especially if we make the playoffs and he puts us on his back, like you said. That's
Now, this next question from the Colonel Hall, I want to start this with you. Is this Wild Goose character a realistic possibility of being a permanent fixture on our team? Because that's a must-have jersey.
I'd have to look at his contract situation going forward. I know we got him off of waivers or practice squad or something like that. We plugged him off the practice squad. So I would assume if they wanted to bring him back next year, they could probably re-sign him to a practice squad deal with the chance to make the 53-man roster. But I mean, whenever we picked him up off the waivers, a lot of people were skeptical because everyone was skeptical of what was going on with the coaching staff and the defense and what they were doing in the beginning of the season. But you saw when he stepped in that he made a couple splash plays here and there. Not really splash plays, but he was making a couple of pass deflections and a couple plays here and there to make you really kind of be like, okay, maybe you got something here. So Yeah, we'll see how it goes in the future. Yeah, but if anything, I think that they would probably bring him back on like a practice squad deal and give him a chance to try to make the 53 man roster.
Yeah, he's been good, man. He's come in and he's done really well in the run game. He's made some plays in the pass game. Got picked on early on in the season, but has grown into it. But that being said, he's got to stay healthy. Hasn't been available the past couple games, so he's got to stay healthy in order to retain his spot. But if he's here, that's somebody that's like a Taylor Heineke type of defensive back where it's like that's a quality backup that you have that you know could come in, help in the run game, but also be able to help you in some of those other situations in the field where he's a playmaker in a sense. But you'd more want it in a depth setting more so than 24/7 because we have seen him get picked on. But got his health is number one for me, Colonel. Wild Goose. That is one heck of a jersey name. That being, what do you think, Reed? You got anything to add?
Not really. Just I agree, and you 100% got to get that jersey if he's contributing.
Yep. And now this next question, Reed, is from Steve Lim on Twitter. Thank you, Steve. Is there any circumstance we see Carson before Howell now that Carson is active? Obviously, the big news today is that Carson was activated with Tyler Larson going to IR now. So Carson is going to be the backup, which Taylor Heineke is starting for the foreseeable future. So Reed, that being said, do you see any scenario, any circumstance where Carson is before Howell now that Carson's active?
I think that's the tire. I think Carson goes in front of Howell. I don't think that there's a chance unless Carson just doesn't heal right or he gets hurt again. Really don't think you're going to see Howell. I think that they like Carson and they really he's produced in this. I mean, you look at him week one, he still had decent stats. I really think that they still like Carson as a backup and they feel confident with him going in there. I think no matter what, you're going to see Carson in front of Howell.
Yeah, and I think at this point, because I've been saying you can't go into this offseason, if you're looking to upgrade a quarterback, you can't go into the offseason without seeing what Sam Howell has for you in a game setting. But that being said, them not playing Howell kind of tells you something about what they think of their quarterback room, and that one of these quarterbacks is the ones that's going to be on the roster next season battling it out. And so that might be an indicator there. But that being said, I think the circumstance where you see Carson before Howell is if Taylor gets hurt at this point, or if Taylor has a really, really bad game and just looks like he lost it, the team's not playing for him, then obviously they could make a switch, and I could see that's the circumstance I could see. But I think you guys are right with Howell being the backup for the third for a reason. There's a lot more nuances that go into it than just throwing the football, unfortunately, at this level. And it's those small little nuanced details that Sam Howell doesn't bring at the moment, but it can happen, and when he does, he's going to be damn good.
Yeah, the Sam Howell talk, especially like to
It's
say that
crazy, dude. It's
say that he-
Hall loves this
Dude,
Sam Howell
yeah.
talk.
dude, it's crazy because like I can understand during a losing streak, like I totally would get it. Like Taylor sucks, put in the kid, like I totally get it. But
Exactly.
like with winning the games, with how many people were talking about, I was like, what is happening here?
Dog, it's ridiculous on Twitter every single day that I got to look up and down my timeline for people that are Sam Howell can do what Taylor Heineke is doing, just with a better arm or more mobility. Okay, well, don't y'all think if that was the case, Ron Rivera and the coaching staff would be putting him into the game?
No, but they're stupid and they can't recognize talent, Hall. That's the
I know.
point.
They can't develop talent. They can't evaluate
Right,
talent. I
dude,
know.
it's
My
crazy.
God. But again, like you said, like my whole thing of it this whole time has been if Carson Wentz has been injured and they're inserting him back as the backup again, that should tell you where Sam Howell's
Right.
at in his development. Like as bad as Carson was, they're still putting him as the primary backup. And like you said, just because you can throw the ball far and you can run around and make some plays, kind of like Taylor Heineke does, minus the throwing the ball far part, doesn't mean you actually like can enter an NFL game and make these plays. Just because Brock Purdy's doing it out in San Francisco doesn't mean Sam Howell can automatically step right in there and do that. He has Kyle Shanahan scheming him up in an offense that's pretty much quarterback proof. All you got to do is not screw it up.
Right.
So
Like for example, like to your point with Sam Howell, like with Wink Martindale, right, against the Giants, what they like to do is they'll blitz out of like regular formations where you're not expecting it. It actually got us a couple times where they sent an extra blitzer and we didn't recognize it because it was out of a base like cover 2, right? Sam Howell being this young, can Sam Howell be able to see that on the fly, know what the coverage is, and know what route is ran that is good for that coverage? And that's the kind of nuances that like we are speaking to that Sam Howell may not be on par yet. That Taylor, as much as you want to give him crap for, he knows where those outlets are. It's just being able to hit those outlets is the issue. And so with Sam Howell, there's just a little bit more things that go into it that I'm sure that it's taking him a little bit longer. But this coaching staff, if they knew that he could help them win games, he would be out there. I think that's
my
all
whole thing
saying.
is like, if you look at all like the like, I mean, this is like not really like a good example, but so Pat Mahomes, when he sat behind Alex Smith, all you heard kind of like the chatter behind the scenes was,
he's killing practice.
This dude is killing it in practice. He's going to be crazy. Same thing with like, even like Brock Purdy to like a smaller extent. If you really go back and look at people like the beat reporters in San Francisco, their tweets and their transcripts, a lot of people were saying like Brock Purdy is kind of looking better than Trey Lance at some points.
Same thing with Jordan Love. Not better than Aaron Rodgers, but Jordan Love was looking really good.
Exactly. There was reports earlier that they were like, Jordan Love ain't it. All of a sudden they're like, hey, he's looking kind of sparks him.
Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You literally hear crickets about Sam Howell. And we're in the market. These are all quarterbacks outside the market that we hear about. So that's my whole thing. So at the end of the day,
Hall's heated right now.
It's just crazy because
crickets
in the beginning of the season, it was, oh, well, Carson sucks and Taylor sucks and we're on a losing streak and put the kid in to see what he has. Now that we're winning games, why would you want to put the kid in to see what he has? And then we fall out of playoff contention. We miss the playoffs. Then you're blaming the coaching staff on, oh, well, it's the coaching staff's fault. It's not Sam Howell's fault. They didn't play him right. They didn't develop him right. Well, maybe Sam Howell just wasn't ready.
It's one of those things where I like the idea of Sam Howell more than I like Sam Howell right now. You know, like it's like a nice young quarterback who tore it up during the preseason. He's got a big arm.
And again, he went on Commanders. He went on Commanders camera and he said red meat sucks. Like again, another notch down. Sam, what are you doing, bro?
Yeah, no, you can't
not
start
even like
that.
This isn't like a huge like knock or a thing, but at the end of the day, to go from a projected number 1 overall pick to a 5th round pick,
it's
like, you know what I'm saying, like.
Right.
31 other teams passed on him multiple. 32 teams passed on him multiple times. We happened to pick him in the 1st and the 5th round because of the value. But pretty much, what's the history here that we found a diamond in the rough in the 5th round, as opposed to all the other 31 teams that have a history of doing that, being like, nah, we're good on that. Not saying he can't develop into something, but to say that right now he can come in and win games or do what Taylor Heineke's doing, and I'm not even a Taylor Heineke guy, is crazy.
Yeah, and I think the one thing I heard that he possibly did not interview well during the draft process, which might have brought him down.
You're telling me that he talked differently to the African American GMs than he did the white ones?
He was calling.
If you don't get it, that's exactly what he did when De'Ami Brown called him when he was drafted. Right. He was like, "Hey, what's that saying?"
Scott Harley in the UK is our next question on Twitter. Thank you, Scott. But we already kind of answered it. Like, who starts under center next season and why? I feel like it's way too early to talk about that. We'll have all off season be able to do that, and it's hard to be able to say at this moment because we have no idea what's going to happen or transpire over the next 4 games. Lord knows anything could. We could see Sam Howell carry this team. We have no idea. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sorry, Scott. I apologize. But his next question,
Jimmy G.
Hall. This next question is from Brant on Twitter. Thank you, Brant. So can we talk about the fact I think we found our safety tandem in Cam Curl and Derek Forrest? So many years of struggle. A big positive I see this year is that forming. Do you think it will last? And I actually wholeheartedly agree with you. This is something you and I have talked about for many, many years. We're trying to fix that safety position. I know, look, I've said before that Cam's the best safety we've had here since Sean Taylor. Obviously, Jalen had an issue saying that DJ Swearinger's 1 year, which he does. He deserves credit for that. But I meant more in the safety tandem, just being comfortable in that back end area. And we have never been able to really feel comfortable with the safeties up until this point. So I agree with you, Brant. I think this is a huge positive, and I do see this is something that will last. The one, I no disrespect to Bobby McCain, I just do think that he's the one movable piece, whereas Derek Forrest has shown you he needs to be in the back end playing center field. He limits the big plays. He's a huge help, and he actually gets picks back there. And Cam Curl wearing the green dot, helping in the box, and communication has really shown to be a huge piece for this defense as well. So I think that that's a tandem that will last, and they've shown to be physical, smart, they communicate, and they play well. And they just need to clean up a little bit more of the tackling. But I think that it's something that can last. What about you, Reed?
Yeah, 100%. And the thing with Bobby McCain, too, is Bobby McCain's always been known as a better slot cornerback than a free safety. That's how he was always used in Miami. That's how It's been for him. So I think that you can utilize his strengths now and feel confident with Derek Forrest and Cam Kroll back there. And those two, they're still young. They're going to grow together. You got to be excited about this duo. If you're the Commanders, if we can keep them together for 5 years or so, they're going to do some great things. So you got to feel real confident about that.
Yeah, 7th round pick and a 5th round pick, man. It's this
Right.
coaching staff. They can't pick players, can't develop players. It's just so crazy. Yeah, I definitely think that this can be a tandem that can definitely be here for their foreseeable future. Obviously, Cam Curl has a deal that's going to be coming up soon. Hopefully, they're going to see. Hopefully, I know they see the value in him, and they'll pay him whenever the time comes. And then a guy like Forrest, who's still young but growing into the position and just already out there making splash plays, already flying around, already making himself known around the league as a thumper and a guy that can also get on the back end and make plays on the ball as well in the deep passing game. So, yeah, like you said, this is something that we've been missing for a while. It's either been we can have a free safety, but the strong safety position is kind of out of whack, or the strong safety position is good, or the free safety position's out of whack. So, for them to be especially this early in their career, for them to be this synced up and this like such a good tandem together. I mean, it only bodes well for this defense that's still young and going to keep on growing together as a whole.
Yeah, because it's like their front is based on older guys that are dominant and elite in their own breath that are very close together. To have that back end solidified by young talent that communicates, it gels well together, it says a lot about them. Now let's to our Discord chat server. Start pre-gaming for this game this Sunday. This question is from Meast, Brian Bold in our Discord chat server. Thank you, Brandon. Hope everything is well, brother.
Love that for you.
He says, we may have had our biggest win of the season during our bye week with the Giants and Seahawks both losing as we jumped from the 8th seed to the 6th seed. With that being said, what's the magic number of games we need to win to make the playoffs, and what position group are you most worried about for the final stretch of games? Reed.
What was it? Selby said, I didn't see this before, but if we win this week, then our chances go up to like 92%, 94% or something like that to make the playoffs. So I would imagine we win 2 games. We got to be feeling pretty good about making the playoffs. So yeah, I would say 2 games. And then what position group worries me the most? I mean, it's got to be the offensive line. I mean, you just look at everywhere else. I mean, quarterback, I understand, but the running backs, you got to feel good about. Wide receivers, you got to feel good about. Tight ends is another one that's got to worry you a little bit. But D-line, you got to feel good about, man. Linebackers, good about. Secondary, pretty good about. So I'm going to go with the offensive line and tight ends because we haven't gotten any production from tight ends and offensive line. We're a few injuries away from things going downhill bad.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think the magic number needs to be double digits. It needs to be 10. You need to aim high.
Your total games. I was like, we only have 4 games left, Kyle.
No, I know, but I'm saying they need to get to 10 games just to like feel comfortable. Like I don't want to say 1 or 2 games and then one of these teams rips off 3. The Lions end up ripping off and winning all 4 of their games. Now we're put into a bad position.
Lions have the tiebreaker over us too,
right?
So
that's why I think 10 wins. So 3 for me is the sweet number, but I think that they can achieve 4. But the 3 is the big number.
Yeah, would love to go 4-0 down the stretch and get to 11 wins for the first.
My bad. And the one position group I am very concerned about during the final stretch of the games is quarterback.
Yeah, I would love to go 4-0 down the stretch and get to 11 wins for the first time in. I mean, I know they did it like when they won the Super Bowl in '91, but I was like not even 4 years old. I was 3 years old, so clearly don't remember that. So to go get 11 wins for the first time in my history of remembrance of being a fan would be lovely. Do I think that could happen? Probably. Yeah, it's like 25% chance, but I think that they go at least at minimum 2-2 down the stretch, get to 9 wins. I think that'll probably get them into the 7th seed as the last wild card spot. But like you said, Kyle, if they get to 3-1 and get to 10 wins, I think that automatically would.
They're guaranteed.
Clearly that would lock them into the playoffs. But I think that would get them to the 6th
Minnesota.
Seed.
I was about to say, I don't want San Fran
exactly
right now.
So I'd rather play Minnesota in the first round as well too. So however that can kind of like lock up and match up with where you face Minnesota round 1 is how I want it. But
I think the Dallas automatically would get Tampa, wouldn't they?
I was about 5 versus 4, 2 versus 6, so 2 versus 7. So we'd have to get the 7th seed to lock up to face Minnesota. Because right now we're facing San Francisco. So
right. Yeah. San
so, yeah.
Francisco.
2-2. 2-2 would do it for sure, but I want to. Yeah, I wouldn't mind 4 wins. Get to 11.
Yeah. By the Kyler Murray, his injury was like a non-contact, so it's apparently really bad. Yeah.
So it's an ACL
really
most likely.
Yeah.
Now our next question is by Andy Lockhart in the Discord chat server. Oi! Do you think we will score more? Do you think we will score more than 30 points for the?
Are you mocking the people who are asking?
No, I didn't mean to do that. It just sounded like that.
Mate.
Do you think we will shut up?
How many goals are we gonna score?
Do you think we will score more than 30 points for the second time this season this weekend?
How many corner kicks?
I might.
30 points? Probably not. I think we cap. Can we? I mean, I can see us putting up 30 against the Giants, to be honest with you, but the style, the play that they want to play, unless the defense is getting like multiple turnovers or just playing out of their mind, making them punt every single possession, I think they cap out between like 24 to like 27 points on a good day.
Yeah, the Giants defense right now, they're 29th in rushing yards. In points per game, they're 20th in ranking in the NFL, giving up 23.1 per game. So they're very similar to Washington. Obviously, Washington gives up 19.7 defensively and only puts up offensively. They're 25th in the league at 19.5. So they're almost polar opposites of their defense in a way, but it's going to be similar to what you saw. Low scoring, a big fight, and it's going to come down to who capitalizes on their opportunities and who makes the least amount of mistakes. Obviously, Washington was on the losing end of that, but still tied the game, and that's what I kind of feel optimistic to a sense about this game. But the 30 points I'm not concerned about. I'm just concerned about getting the W. Like, I don't care if it's 9-6. I don't care if it's 12-10. Just get it done. I don't care how bad Taylor looks. Just get the dub.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. Like you talked about, this style of football, you don't see many points. I mean, you see solid defense and you see a ground game, and it's kind of boring, but it's for some fans. But I like that old school football approach, so I'm all right with it. You're not going to see it against San Francisco. San Francisco hasn't allowed a touchdown in the second half in 2 months. They're insane. But Giants, I could maybe somebody will go off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I said D'Amico Ryans was a great defensive coordinator last season. Do you remember in the playoffs I said that? Some dude bit my hub. He's like, "What makes you think you could say that about D'Amico Ryans? What has he done?" I'm like, dude, I'm just saying this is what I think.
I don't know. I mean, just watch the game, sir.
I don't know, man. Right. People just jump down your throat for no reason, kind of like Reed
on
on Saturday
I was
night.
about to say no, but you like that more though when they do it to you for no reason.
We got to start make fun of Hall more. Like, it's always just you and I.
But I know we can't. Though.
Look, I had this question though. Why does Hall? His personality is like he just you can't make fun of him.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't like you.
What is with that?
It'll just sound like aggressive or something.
I call Reverend Jesse Jackson, and we're gonna march on your ass. So
so calmly said, "We're gonna march on your ass."
Do that. I guess I'm gonna call Rev T, and he's gonna come up here.
I'm gonna call Kanye. Now,
Same people.
This next question that we have is from Big Tony Shivers. Reed. Thanks, Tony. What do you think St. Juice's impact will be if he can play this weekend?
They're huge. St. Juice, I mean, Kendall Fuller's been tearing it up, but having St. Juice with his size, his athleticism over on the other side, that's when our defense has been playing the best. And I think just having him over there, I know the Giants don't really have any wide receivers that scare you, but down this stretch, I mean, you're looking at some good teams down there. So you can't put a measurement on how important Benjamin St. Juice is to this defense. I really think that he can really take this defense to the next level, and he'll really come up big in a playoff push. So I don't remember what the question is, but yeah, Benjamin St. Juice Fox.
Yeah. His impact will be huge if he plays this weekend. Obviously, I said it before, but the Giants are not scared to press the football. As much as they are one of the worst teams in the NFL in passing, being 28th, averaging only 180 yards per game, they are 6th in rushing. So they go heavy, and then they try to hit you deep once or twice. They're not scared of it. And so Benjamin St. Juice, I would feel much more comfortable with him back there because of his play on the ball. Because like we saw in Chicago, where if the ball's up in the air, it's a big, crazy pressure play. Benjamin St. Juice is usually on the winning side of that because he's very good at contested catches. He's very physical. He's long. He can get his hands in the way. And so it's huge what he brings to this team because in those red zone matchups that he offers as well, he's not as big of a liability as you could say as other guys. Because like you saw Danny Johnson have multiple opportunities. Somebody like Benjamin St. Juste is more than capable of being able to come up with those. And so that being said, I think that Benjamin St. Juste will have a huge impact on his defense, and he completes them, and he kind of allows them to actually play to their strengths. But the most important thing is having Benjamin St. Juste going down the stretch. If he's not healthy right now, there's no reason to force him out there, because I would much rather have Benjamin St. Juste for the next 4 games than him just to be here for this one game and us not have him for the rest of the season, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely think. I mean, you saw his impact. I'm not gonna say he's not gonna get beat on a double move by this Hodges dude, but I mean, you got a rookie out there on Christian Holmes, bites on the slant, and then
Hodges is a big
touchdown.
dude too. You know, Benjamin St. Juste is a big dude. Yeah,
exactly. Benjamin St. Juste, he matches up well with the bigger kind of like bigger size receivers. Like you said, in the passing game, he's a guy that's going to go up and contest the ball, the 50-50 balls. He's going to bat it down. He might come away with the interception. He's going to make a play on the ball. And also in the run game as well. He's real physical in the run game. He comes up, fills a lot of gaps, plays the outside contain very well.
I don't think Kendall Fuller gets enough respect for his play against the screen game and stuff like that.
Oh, no,
he is so good at that.
Without a doubt. So, to keep Daniel Jones contained on the outside, push him inside to the rest of the defense, Saquon Barkley as well. I think Benjamin St. Juste is real big on that. And also, down the stretch like this time of year, down the stretch, you want to have your best players on the field if possible. So he's definitely one of our best players, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So it would be a huge impact if he's out there.
Now, boys, one thing about Benjamin St. what?
Juste.
All right, Kanye, calm down. What are you doing? Listening to College Dropout out there? Watch your mouth, bro. I'm tired of you saying that so much.
This next question is from Tim Towner. Just really quickly, a brief couple words to answer it. How is it that Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, can step in for the Niners and Washington does not feel confident enough to have Sam Howell tie his own shoes?
Kyle Shanahan.
I do believe Iowa State ran Shanahan's system for the last 4 years. So this is all new for Purdy. Yet there he was yesterday with people talking about him like he's an MVP candidate. We kind of talked about it before.
Can I tap this real fast? Just 1 second. They didn't really want to play Brock Purdy. They lost their starter and their backup quarterback, right, and then they were forced to play Brock Purdy. So, it's not like he played his way into the starting lineup. It's like he was kind of the last resort.
No, and
same thing could happen to Sam Howell.
Yeah, exactly. You're absolutely right about that. That's perfect. And also, Kyle Shanahan's system is built to make it easy on the quarterback, and that's why I've always felt that Jimmy Garoppolo's not going to leave there just because they have a mutual relationship of make each other's job easier.
If you have Deebo Samuels, Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle,
Brandon
Williams, I would hope that you would look somewhat competent on the offensive side of the ball as a quarterback. What I'm saying? Like, come on.
And a defense like that,
right?
Playing his lights out like that, yeah. And a wide receiver with the last name.
Short answer: Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, they have a wide receiver with a last name that's a noise that Goofy makes. I just made that one up. I've never said that before, Kyle.
Yes, you have.
What's his name? I didn't even know that.
Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk.
Every time, dude. And that was Hall's
spelled perfectly.
So we used to do our pre-draft evals, and so we would do 3 each, and that was Hall's guy, was Brandon Ayuk.
I draft him in fantasy literally every year.
And funny thing is, as soon as Hall said that, he was like, it sounds like a Goofy sound. And we still kept with it all to this time, dude. It's so funny.
Brandon Ayuk.
All right, everybody, that's going to wrap us up for this episode. I know it's going to be kind of a crazy week, but I'm really excited to see how the offensive line shakes out. Hopefully Benjamin St. Juste comes back. Chase Young's return. Are we finally going to see Chase Young at FedEx? And then, of course, guys, this is a giant week, literally a gigantic week for Washington. Let's all get back out to the stadium, man. I know CJ the Hog and the rest of the battalion are getting up and meeting up. They're grilling in the red zone lot. So make sure everyone gets out of the stadium. Let's cheer this team on. Let's not make sure there's any blue out there. You know what I mean? All right, everybody.
I thought about going to the game. Then I looked at the weather and was like,
yeah, how cold is it?
It's gonna be like 30-something degrees.
Come watch my
count me out.
Nah. Not enough whiskey in the world to make me get out there.
I know. All right, everybody. That's going to wrap us up for this episode. Unlike Hall, get out to the stadium on Sunday. I'll try to get out there with you. All right, everybody. We will see you again on Thursday. Please have a good, safe week. Stay warm. I'm going back to work here soon. Dreading it, but it is what it is. All right, everybody. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
And I'm Daniel Kelly.
I knew you was meant to say that.
All right, everybody. We'll see you again. Washington football. Woo! Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. And if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you get notified when anything new is uploaded to the channel. Also, we just launched the BurgundyZone.com. You can go there and find all of our latest news, articles, and the latest episodes that are uploaded. Again, we also have the Discord chat server, where all of our VIP folks are in, like Andy Burrows, Scott Hartley, Sergio Martin is in there as well. Don't miss out on the Discord chat server. Go and check that out. Until next time, everybody, Washington football. Woo!